Welcome back to You Can Homeschool. I'm Tracy Hagerman, the happy homeschooler, and I'm here once again with the lovely Pat Fenner from Breakthrough Homeschooling. So, ladies and gents, we're going to talk today about not curriculum, but more a little bit about courses, and more specifically, some great electives. Because we all know that yes, math is important, and reading, and writing is important, and some of the sciences are important. But let's mix it up a bit, because you never know what talent or skill that you're going to happen upon when you present your kids with more and more options of things to do in life. Um, and so we're going to talk through sort of back and forth some of the electives that we've used or that friends of ours have used with their kids that have been really amazing and really enhance the whole homeschooling experience.
Mhm.
So Pat's going to start off today again.
Okay. And what I want to point out too is that electives are like, I know sometimes we give them short, like, oh, they're just electives, but there's really good reasons to have electives. And I think if you're pursuing a lifestyle of learning, you want to give good thought to your electives. We had haven't had an episode recently about doing fine arts, and I was in your homeschool, and I was really blown away by the breadth of topics and choices that you have that your student you can consider for fine arts subjects. And it's really the same thing with electives. I mean, electives, for one, really round out your students' education, help them to be a well-rounded individual. Sometimes electives can introduce them to a future career possibility. You never know what's going to happen with that. And finally, I think they really help develop interests, talents, or gifts that your kids have. So I don't think it's prudent, I guess I could say, to just blatantly, just whatever, toss out electives or let your kids choose and whatever and just take them lightly. I think it there just does call for some thought and intentionality with them.
Mhm. And I also want to mention, like, what I've noticed as adults, you hear a lot of things nowadays about self-care, which is really important,
Mhm.
and a lot of people going through anxiety and,
Oh yeah.
stress. And one of the things that's recommended always is to have a pastime or something that gives you, um, calmness, joy,
Mhm.
a little bit of time for yourself, a little bit of time off from the busyness of life. And a lot of times, some of these electives can introduce your kids to something that they might enjoy as a pastime later in life. So it's another huge reason to, think about carefully what might be a great fit with your own kids.
Yeah, absolutely, Tracy. Mental health is it's nothing to minimize. It's not a laughing matter. We do need to take care of ourselves. And teaching our kids how to do that in high school through electives. Wow. I mean, that's a great learning opportunity right there. Yeah. So okay, so you asked me to get started. I actually, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but I actually have a list of it's over 25 creative electives for your high school teen, your high schooler. Some of them, they may already be doing. Now, the one caveat I want to say about electives is when you're finally working on your teen's transcript or program of study, don't include something they're doing for a regular course as also as an elective. You can't double. So if your student is doing dance, I'll use it for a fine arts, optional. A lot of times people use dance and movement, gymnastics and stuff as PE credits. Well, you can't use it as a PE credit and an elective. So I'm just going to, if you have teenagers in high school, that's something you need to keep in mind. So just throwing that
No
one out.
double dipping.
No double dipping. That's right. Never, ever, ever. In any situation. It feels that good. So some of them, the one that got me started on this was actually, and it was the first elective on my list here, is auto mechanics, because we had our oldest son when we first started homeschool. Well, we had been homeschooling for a while, but he was our first teenager, our first high schooler, and he was obsessed with cars, like obsessed with them, and he just he wanted to be a Formula One car driver. That was like his goal in life. Well, that's really expensive to try to, prepare the first. But we thought, well, we can nurture his interest in cars and stuff, like so. So, he he did a lot of research on cars. He worked with my husband in working on the car. So he did a lot of hands-on stuff on just car repair, learning how things work and function and stuff. He read a lot of magazines, and for the writing component of the elective, I had him do reports, or summaries of things like that. He did a lot of research on, biographies of famous race car drivers and people that came up with inventions that were car related. And I'm hesitating because this was like 20 years ago. So, it's pulling things out of my head for this one. But he did a lot, and he really did enough that we were able to give him 2 semesters of credit for, we call it, I think auto mechanics 1 and auto mechanics 2 or something like that. There was something much more creative. My husband was very good at coming up with creative names for our electives, but auto mechanics was one. Now he is not a mechanic right now. He is a very busy videographer. However, he has a car project in his garage. He works on their cars for the family. He still watches and goes to races. I mean, he still has that, and that is an example too of a skill that he is both practical, and it is his relaxation kind of thing too. It's his hobby.
And here in Canada, I just before this podcast, I was talking to Pat saying, "Oh, we're expecting our first freezing rain today," and we have to change from summer tires to winter tires here. And so I'm like, "Oh, I was planning to do it this weekend, so I'm a little behind, but I'm going to do it this weekend with my son. We're going to do and he knows how to do his tires, so we kind of do our 2 cars together." And what a great skill to have, because, you could bring it to someone to do it, but it costs more money to do it that way. So to be able to, change your own tires, that's a great skill. So.
And what a ministry too, because I'm sure there are widows or, single people out there who maybe couldn't afford it, or, for whatever reason, you can offer to do that too as a ministry. Like if you have that skill, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
I love that image of you and your son working together doing this.
Well, it's kind of me going, "I can't get this bolt off." And then he's like, "Move aside, Mom." So maybe that'll make it a little more real for you. And I roll the tire over. But anyway.
Because now I can relate, because that's what it would be like for me.
But again, like you're starting with that elective, I think, your kids knowing what to do with their car.
Oh, yeah.
Change flat tire, whatever, really important.
Yeah.
So one of the ones I like to think about is music. And I mean, a lot of times we think, oh yeah, a lot of times we, introduce music to our kids. But my son, when he was younger, was the most, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, but he was very uncoordinated when he was really young in terms of music. So if we were clapping to a beat, he would not be on the beat or even the half beat. It would be somewhere in between.
Okay.
But what was interesting is we decided to take piano, and it was done in a group setting. So there were between 4 and 6 kids, and the parents attended with the kids. And in this wonderful class, the teacher would do a combination of learning the keyboard of the piano, a combination of rhythm work with rhythm instruments, a combination of writing music, a combination of coming up with lyrics. There was a bunch of elements, and it would change like every couple of minutes. You were doing something different. You were sitting at the keyboard, and then you were up doing something different, and then you were singing a song. So it was a lot of fun, and I'm all about fun and learning. Yeah. So my son, who's my eldest, and my daughter, they took this course together for 3 years, and my son's within a couple months, I noticed that his overall coordination and rhythm improved dramatically just by virtue of the music, which it helped a lot of other things besides just, the fingers on the keyboard. Yeah. And he actually recognized it in himself as well. So, he wasn't the one who was going to be, the pianist or
Right.
anything like that. It was more my daughter, but he loved the class because it was fun and it really helped him with just some other things that were a struggle for him. So, if you're thinking, oh, music, whatever, like make sure you get into I really suggest when they're young the group classes can be a lot more fun, like music and movement and that, rather than the one-on-one with the teacher, which is a little more discipline in that.
Mhm.
Unless of course you have a child that shows an aptitude like that really young. But I can't say enough about the music. All of our
Yeah.
kids did music of some form, and it just helped in a
Yeah.
lot of other things. So
And I'm going to include the link to that episode that I did where I interviewed music in our homeschool, Gena Mayo, and she talked about, I could not believe the list of music and fine arts related electives that you could do. So this is something. But I also want to say what you're talking about with Kent is an example of music therapy, which was my degree in college. It's real exciting to hear you talk about that. Music does have a big influence on a lot of other things besides just music learning. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
So
cool. That's really great. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's see some other electives. Well, if are your kids do your kids babysit? Childcare. You can turn that into an elective. The actual babysitting can be part of either a volunteer or hands-on or work study, however you want to call it, component. You can couple that with they could be studying or reading and learning about the particular ages of the kids that they're babysitting. What are combine that with learning styles, what kind of activities are relevant. You could make a beautiful elective that your child could be using, your teen could be using very practically, very practical. Uh,
mhm.
uh,
And I wanted to add to that, like, my youngest daughter had really enjoyed babysitting, really loves kids, and she would go over. And again, I had initiated this. We had made a it was sort of like a Tupperware briefcase we had,
mhm.
and she would go over with all kinds of supplies, craft supplies, coloring, crafts, whatever. So before she would go over to babysit somewhere, she would think, okay, what are the age of the kids? What kind of things do I want to put in there? So they loved her. And a couple of people she babysat for, the parents would say, we always call you first because
Oh.
we know you're going to come over, and she would entertain them in
Mhm.
some way. So it wasn't just going over and, watching them watch TV or whatever.
Right.
It was she was really engaged and had, her kit and stuff. So she became like one of the, she loved it and the kids loved it. So it
Well,
was great. Great skill. She put a lot of effort into it.
yeah, yeah. And there's a lot of learning going on, not only on her part, but, when she's working with the kids, whether or not it's intentional or cognizant, we know that there's a lot of learning that comes through play, which you had that great interview with CoCab talking about play and how
Yes.
that incorporated. That's great,
Yeah.
great idea.
Yeah.
Well, in the South, we have, I don't know if of the United States, I don't know if they're in the North because I have been gone so long, but we have a lot of things, a lot of opportunities to do battle reenactments. And that is an example of something that you can incorporate into a history. You can put that right into a history program that that a self designed or student designed, or you can make it part of a theater, and drama elective. But battle reenactments are really big in the South, and there's a lot of research that goes into them. The clothes and the artillery and the area. I mean, everything is really researched. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into doing them, and they're wonderful opportunities to meet. If your student is either drama oriented or history oriented, those are something you can build something around, an elective around, just doing battle reenactments.
I never thought of that. That's
Yeah,
a great one. That's
yeah,
really good. We would do a lot of plays and stuff, but I never thought of a battle arena. Boy, my son would have loved that.
yeah,
Actually,
yeah.
my girls would have loved that too. Thinking about
Hey,
it.
really, there's everybody there. And the really cool thing about it too is, when we talk about the S word, socialization,
Yeah.
they are interacting with people of all ages, walks of life and everything. You'd be amazed at how many different types of people and kinds of people are interested in that. And they all look at each other as peers. Like if you're interested enough that you want to be there, they're not condescending. They're not going to talk you down. They're like, wow, this is cool. You want to do this? Okay. And they pull you right into the group. It's really really very family oriented, which is kind of ironic because they're reenacting a war, a
Right.
battle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it is different. So that's one
A
thing.
cooperative exercise.
There you go. There you go.
Now, the other one I wanted to mention is I know, everybody out there has a phone now, and most kids walking
Yes.
around have a phone. But one year, one of my friend's daughters had asked her mom for a good camera for Christmas. She said, "I don't want anything else. I've researched it, and I would really like this particular camera." So her parents got her this camera for Christmas, and then she, mostly through YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
learned all the features, like, how to make your background blurred, how to do. And so she played around with this camera. She loved it so much that she went to university college, and I think she was in media or something,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of stuff that she was able to use her camera. Well, she ended up on an internship, I think in Spain, where she met her now husband.
Oh my
So they
God.
live in Spain, married, have their first little baby, and they run a wedding photography business. And they do these gorgeous pictures of all these amazing sites in
Oh,
Spain.
that.
And so it started as, getting the camera, but then, her mom was like, if we're going to get you this camera, like, you need to be serious about it. Like, if we're, so again, they were able to use that as an elective, photography elective, but it just took off, and that's her career now, and they love it. And I just love watching their posts because they'll post
Oh.
the engagement photos, and they are spectacular, and they have all these neat lighting effects, and they'll use fans, and most of them are the outdoor, with unbelievable settings. So I just think it's just amazing how, it started out as a special elective and a special
Yeah.
camera. So yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, photography is definitely one of the ones I have on my list too, because that could, as you talk about just now, describe that can open up a lot of doors, a lot of different opportunities. Another one that I have is it's kind of it's business related. Is anything on either entrepreneurial, and you can call it entrepreneur studies, or work study. The difference being that work study, if your student has a job and they are working, excuse me a second, and they are working hours and have to learn how to balance schoolwork, studies, following up with schoolwork and things like that, and working, any kind of social life they're going to have. They're learning a lot of time management skills. They're learning how to get to work on time. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on there. You can easily give them at least a half a credit for work study if they're starting a business, if they, you see that they're like entrepreneurially headed or minded. uh, you can give them a credit for that, have them work on a business, have them, make do keep records and everything, and have a paper trail of what they're doing so that you could include it in a transcript, and have justification for it. But this is a great time. They are home with you. You can help them, guide them through this, or you can get contacts, to have them talk to people, or, apprenticeship with somebody, and give them credit for that. Like it's a very practical type of elective, and they'll feel, that satisfaction of not only having it, helping them get their high school credit to graduate, but really having something solid once they do graduate.
Yeah, absolutely. Our middle daughter was teaching music, I think I've mentioned before, when she was
Mm-hmm.
11, and then built this whole business out of it. So we did give her a credit for entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So she had, she did her own receipts. She got, then we had her do her taxes. Her dad helped her with her taxes, just as she was, building her business, and,
Yeah.
from start to finish. So she spent so much time doing that. It was like, and now she is her own entrepreneur, running her own online music business. So it's amazing the little things that you think, okay, well, we'd like, but they just grow into something else. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
another one I wanted to mention was, and it might seem obvious, but languages.
Hmm.
And I know usually, I know in Canada they have to take a language course. So I'm talking on top of. So for us in Canada, usually we have to learn French because that's the French and English are the two like main languages in Canada. But I know what's interesting is what you can do sign language. I think Pat, you said your daughter's
Hmm.
doing sign language, so that's another one you can use as an elective. And also if as a family you want to visit a particular country, or even if your child is researching a particular country, if you can link it to something they're already doing or interested in, and then choose the language of that country, again they'll be more motivated to do it. But there's so many like apps. Duolingo is a really popular
Hmm.
one that a lot of kids use here, and that one they have to do so much every day on it to keep the app going. So again, learning a language, it's so much easier now than it used to be.
I know.
So much available to the kids and us. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, this one I'm going to kind of throw out on at the risk a little with trepidation, but getting involved in political campaigns. I am not going to go. I'm not going to beat that, or pursue that too much for my friends in the States, our friends in the States. But really working on a political campaign gives you amazing insight into the process and into our government. And really, I think if you're doing a civics class in your homeschool and you are able to do that, to have your student involved in that, you really should try to do that. We had our co-op had the opportunity. This was years back. We had a local hometown guy who was running for the state office and invited our group, the high schoolers, to come and help, man phones and make phone calls and stuff like that. And then he came and talked to them. And like we read about in advance, we had learned about uh, his stand, his attitude about certain topics, so that when we showed up for the phone to work on the phone bank and he came to talk with us, like I was so amazed. Like some of our kids had really intelligent questions to ask him because they knew where he was, stood on things, and they wanted to really delve into that. And it was an amazing experience. I know, politics is very divisive right now, but I don't think that it's a reason to shelter or shield our kids or um, stick our head in the sands, because we really, really need future leaders who are intelligent, know how to think, know how to engage, know how to have a conversation without name calling. And I'll just leave that there. And it's a great opportunity. Your kids as teenagers are old enough to do this kind of stuff, and really should be being engaged on that level. Um, so that's my public service announcement as well.
Well, piggybacking on that, one of the courses that we ran in a co-op, but you don't have to do it as part of a co-op. You can do it with a handful of kids in your home, is debating.
Oh yes.
And this one is just such a great thing. And it's as simple as, we would ask the kids, what topics would you like to debate? So they'd come back and come up with their own.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd say, okay, well, which side are you more leaning towards? And they'd tell you, and then say, okay, now we're going to get you to take the opposite view.
Right.
And you got to go away and you got to come up with reasons why, to try and convince someone why your view. And then we'd have, the other students kind of rate them on how they did. And again, and it's teaching them, not arguing, but it's teaching them how to use facts to influence and to communicate with others. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful skill to have. You
Absolutely.
can use it in any setting. I know the kids love that class, and the lady that was teaching it, she was just amazing at bringing out the best in the kids. She was more like a facilitator for
Mm-hmm.
the class, but I know my kids said they love that class so much. And my son does not like debate or conflict or stuff, and he loved that class
Well,
too.
here's the thing that I think I know I really didn't understand prior to my kids. We had a debate program too, like in our co-op, and I was thinking debate is not being argumentative. Debate is not nah 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 kind of thing. Debate is really going and researching. I mean, or it should be. Yeah. Effective debate and authentic debate is researching the issue, knowing what you're talking about, and so that you're not just giving your opinion, which may or may not be accurate or educated or informed. But it's really knowing the issues as opposed to teens. And I'm sorry, teens, I'm casting a dispersion here, but it's not just being argumentative, and I know that some of our teens went into it thinking, oh,
Yeah.
good, we get to fight, kind of thing, we get to argue, but that's not it. There's a lot more work to it. And it is a skill that, oh yes, Tracy, it's wonderful. That's a great elective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so another one, anything to do with so technology. So I think things like coding, web design, robotics. I know a lot of kids are into I'm going to forget the name of that program that so many of them are into. Oh, I can't think what it is right now, but a lot of the boys really like this.
With the
This,
blocks,
yeah,
it's
the block thing. What is that called?
oh
I
my
can't
gosh.
remember. You
We'll
might need
mention
to
it.
edit this part out.
We'll mention it when we could think about it.
But any type of coding or something like that, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. There's also, I know my son started. He wanted to learn how to program, bought
Mhm.
himself his own book with some birthday money he got, and was able to teach himself to start coding when he was 12 or 13, something like that.
Oh,
But again, he was able to take some time each day and work through a book to build a little program or whatever. So that's a great skill. And I mean, in today's world, we're all online, whether we like it or not. The virtual world is huge, and there are many,
mhm.
many jobs in that field. So, if you've got a child that's really into, that kind of thing, then just go for, oh, I know what it's called. It's called Minecraft.
That's it.
Minecraft. So the program online that a lot of the kids like are Minecraft, but there's a lot of thought that has to go into that to
Yeah.
build the cities and get things to work and that. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Another one too that we got to keep an eye on the time here, but another one that I thought of was anything like visual design or interior design. There are so many online tools that you can do a vision board, an idea board. My oldest daughter does managing co-hosting for Airbnb, and she has now gotten into a lot of helping her hosts, her clients come up with a design theme for their home. And it doesn't have to be like really expensive. She is great at finding things at, well, maybe not garage sales, but, thrift stores and things like that. And makes vision boards, idea boards that have color combinations and everything. It's just amazing what you could do. And I mean, that's something I wouldn't have thought you could use that in a hosting business, but look,
Hmm.
so I think, having that skill, and I know there are online courses that will teach that too, if you want to get some like bona fide training on it, but that can all be part of the elective program that you put together.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Another thing we did is my youngest daughter, we had bought her a sewing machine one Christmas.
Mhm.
And this is a lost art, but a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we had a lady in our church, same age as my mom. She just lived close to us, this lady. And her daughter owned a dance studio. So her and a friend would make all these costumes for every year for the dance studio. Anyway, she started having my daughter over once a week
Hey,
to
Tracy,
learn. Oh,
did that come through did you hear that?
no, I didn't.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I'm sorry. Can you start that story again?
Yep.
Shoot. Okay, hold on a minute. I'm going to have to learn how to edit this. This is my husband. Hold on. I'm going to pause this.
So I just want to mention that one Christmas we bought my daughter a sewing machine, and this great, nice lady from our church, who's her adult daughter, owns a dance studio, huge dance studio in the Toronto area, and so this lady and her friend would make all the costumes for all the recitals at the end of the year. So
Wow.
she was very talented. So she said that none of her, uh, grandkids that were interested in learning the art, and she'd love to have my daughter over once a week. So for a year and a half, my daughter Brooke went over, and my daughter now has made costumes for people. She can sew almost anything. And just recently she bought herself the whole, she had saved up money to buy herself, the form where you put the material and do the actual,
Right.
and it's amazing what she's been able to do. And, right now it's more of like something, a hobby that she really enjoys. Like she just loves, and, when COVID started, she was making masks for everybody and like sewing. And so anyways, that has been a wonderful add-on to her life that,
Yeah.
came about by this really generous lady who, wanted to teach her. So that's a great idea as
That
well.
is, yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I will include the link to that list of creative electives in the show notes, as well as the link to the episode that we did on the fine arts, because there's a lot of electives in that episode as well that you could come up with. So I think you should, if you have a high schooler by now, you should be able to have some idea about what are some electives that that are really productive and useful for your teen, and in a lot of different ways.
I want to mention one more
Sure.
that uh, one of the here we have a store called Home Depot.
Yes.
So I don't know what do they have those in the States?
Yes, we do.
Oh, all right, Home Depot. But Home Depot, or there's another one called Reno. And what they do is they have these classes that you can attend on site, and it's how to do hardwood, how to do welding, how to paint, how to choose your, and so, and they have them like ongoing, and they're all free. You just, I think you sign up in advance and you go in. So those are a great skill that your kids can attend. I think to make them the most worthwhile, though, you should follow up with a little project that they can actually take what they've learned in that thing and come and do it at home or something. But and I just want to mention that because I was just like, oh, this is like all this free training of, like even how to paint a room, like how do you wash your brush? Do you need to wash your brush? Do you need to put primer? Like, so they have all these like, 45-minute, 1 hour courses that
Mhm.
anyone can sign up. And then some of the grocery stores also have cooking
Mhm.
seminar. So that's another one. And I know some homeschoolers, they would sign their kids up like either one a month or one every 2 weeks, and then they would have to come home and implement what they learned
Right.
in the family. So I just wanted to mention there are other resources. It doesn't all have to be on mom, but and
Right.
and if they do this over the full year, that's an elective that you
Yeah.
can use.
Well, I
So
don't know what it's like for in Canada, but in the States, you have to have it's 60 to 75 study hours equals half a credit. So, as long so record keeping in this case, well, in any of the electives that we mentioned here is paramount, because even
yeah,
though it's an elective, if you're going to assign the credit, when it's time to do the transcript, you do have to have the backup for that. So 60 to 75 hours would, be a bunch of those courses, follow it up with a, project at home. You can easily, depending on the project and everything, you can easily come up with a half credit doing a couple of them. Yeah.
absolutely.
Great. Good deal.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if you have any other ideas, we would love to hear of some other creative electives you've done. So wherever you're listening to this, you should be able to leave a comment below, whether you're on the blog or Spotify. We'd love a review, of course, there too. Hint, hint. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please, leave a comment below and let us know what kind of creative electives you've done with your team, because we all learn from that when we share with each other. So, okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I
So
think,
remember, oh,
I was just going to say, yep. I think that about wraps up this episode, and hope you found something helpful within our conversation. And Tracy will just sign us off now.
I think, I still haven't got this, so it's not awkward, Pat, but hey, you can homeschool. It can be awesome. Enjoy your kids and enjoy the wonderful world of learning. Have a
Mm.
great week.
Yep. Take care.